Alright, ladies and gentlemen, now I do have some very exciting news that 95% of you have already seen, already talked about amongst a myriad of other things. Now, this news that I'm talking about obviously revolves around Wuthering Waves and obviously revolves around a crossover that I have been very excited to get to. The Cyberpunk Edgerunners crossover was just announced with some more information. Now, I don't know exactly when it's going to drop, but I do have some information and things that I do want to talk about. Now, when it comes to Wuthering Waves, the relationship between Wuthering Waves and I have been very rocky, very bumpy. I have moments where I start playing it for long periods of time, and then I have moments where I refuse to play it at all because, honestly, I haven't really been deriving very much enjoyment from it. However, ever since Hiyuki dropped, I've been starting to see more and more alpha in her gameplay because, let's be completely honest, she has that sort of dodge counter attack that Crimson Weave does. She has that two versions animations of her ultimate that Crimson Weave does. She has some basic attacks that's actually quite similar, in my opinion, to Crimson Abyss in her first form, and I just absolutely love the fact that you can stay in her second form indefinitely. She's definitely the most fun character that I have ever played in my life, and I do plan on making a video dedicated to her specifically, but we're not here to talk about Hiyuki, we're here to talk about this crossover. Now, when it comes to Cyberpunk, the game is one of my favorite games of all time, and the anime was one of the only shows that actually got me very close to crying. There have been other shows that gets me close to crying. There's only been one show that's ever made me cry, but I don't think I'm gonna get into which show that is. But Cyberpunk in general is one of my favorite IPs. I love the mythos, I love the characters. I even went out of my way to start reading the book. Now, one of the things that I do want to say here is this is going to be an Edgerunners crossover, not a game crossover. Now, there is a difference between Edgerunners and regular Cyberpunk. Now, there are people that did wonder what I meant when I said that this was going to be an Edgerunner specific crossover rather than a regular Cyberpunk crossover. Now, obviously, the regular Cyberpunk game as well as Edgerunners both very much so take place in the same universe, with the actual game referencing the anime after the anime had actually come out. You're able to get David's jacket, you're even able to find some information regarding David and the situations that ended up happening, and I'm almost certain if they wanted to, they could have added a little bit of a flavor text about Adam Smasher actually just obliterating David and his group, at least the majority of his group. You see, Cyberpunk Edgerunners has something that the regular game just doesn't have. It's a lot more animated, obviously, because it's an anime. Things are a lot more exaggerated in my opinion, but that's because that's just the way the art style was. So you're going to see a lot of these sorts of scenes that you ended up seeing in the whole crossover announcement video. You're going to be able to see a lot more of that. There's not going to be very much so information regarding stuff like V, because obviously if Lucy and Rebecca are both alive simultaneously, this is very much so before V's time. You're not going to be seeing anything about Johnny Silverhand, you're not going to be seeing anything about that. And now, with that out of the way, there are a few other things that I do want to talk about. The fact that Rebecca and Lucy's presence is actually there, and the fact that David disappears, leaving behind only his jacket. Now, obviously, they could just very well come from a timeline where they were actually able to defeat Adam Smasher, or they come from a timeline where they just haven't fought Adam Smasher yet and David Martinez wasn't able to get his upgrades fully. Now, I have been seeing some things that David is just going to be a narrative piece and not a playable character, which obviously really sucks really bad. I don't care what anyone says, just having Lucy and Rebecca be playable but not having David be playable, it's ass. I'm gonna be real. I understand they're hot, yay, woohoo, we get to bust some nuts in Rebecca, we get to bust some nuts in Lucy. Okay, yeah, that's great, and I'm sure their gameplay is gonna slap, but David's way more important than the two of them, and I honestly would have been happy with the crossover if we got David as well. He's the most important, most emotional character that they've got in Edgerunners. That's just my opinion, okay? And obviously, it would have been really cool to see David have a sort of multi-ult if this does happen to have some sort of timeline situation where you're just playing as regular David Martinez when he's just, you know, a little bit amped up with cybernetics, and then when he ults, he becomes this big buff badass when he actually gets all of his upgrades towards the ends of the series. But enough about me ranting about David Martinez, and I want Adam Smasher to be a boss because, let's be completely honest, I really want to see him use his Sandevistan and start fighting us with the Sandevistan. Do you know how cool it would be? It would feel like punishing Grey Raven almost, with the whole Matrix and all that stuff. Let's be honest, guys, that would be fire, that would be flames. But anyways, this is definitely going to be taking place during a time before they even met Atom Smasher, or this is going to be taking place and they were pulled from their time from a time period where Atom Smasher didn't successfully kill all of them and was only able to successfully kill some of them. Their mission obviously being a success if Rebecca and Lucy is still there, and Lucy is trying to make it to the moon while thinking about David. Now here is what I think will be actually introduced into Wuthering Waves, because this is a concept that I know Kuro Games would love to get their hands on. Obviously, I have a feeling that the way Lucy and Rebecca actually got here was by way of the Black Wall. And if you don't know what the Black Wall is, you can read up about it, but I'm going to give you the very light, very surface level sort of explanation of what the Black Wall is. So the Black Wall is the most advanced, most dangerous, most intelligent artificial intelligence that also doubles as a firewall to protect, well, the internet, and I guess technically you could say the entire digital world from the things that exist outside of it. The things beyond the Black Wall are horrors beyond man's comprehension, and so imagine the Black Wall as a hyper intelligent AI that possibly has more information than even Ultron himself, that doubles as a super actually nuclear firewall. I'm pretty sure that some of the server nodes that you can find in the ocean outside of Cyberpunk's map is actually where a lot of the hard drives are that holds the Black Wall. I feel like those nodes that you can find out there is where a portion of the Black Wall's power is stored at. But that's only for people that actually know Cyberpunk lore like I do, and I would love to talk to you guys about it, and I'd love to talk about more how it might actually affect everything that's going on in Wuthering Waves. But anyways, I do genuinely feel like Lucy and Rebecca did get here through some form of Black Wall nonsense. I have a feeling that Kuro Games is definitely going to run this super detailed explanation revolving around the Black Wall of how this whole thing started. And I also feel like through this collaboration, it may end up being canon, and it also may end up shedding some light lore-wise on a myriad of things that we might not know. Now, as I said, I did stop playing Wuthering Waves for a long time, and in order for me to catch up, I did skim through the majority of the stories that I went through, but I did sit through Imif's story, and I did sit through the majority of Hiyuki's story, but the rest of it sort of got skimmed because I didn't really care too much about the characters, and I don't really stream Wuthering Waves anymore. But that may change considering Hiyuki is just that good, and her alone might actually get me to start playing the game again. I'm really excited to see if the whole mono wires is going to end up being yet another way that Kuro Games is trying to test out certain characters that are able to use monowire type abilities. It's going to be very interesting seeing what Rebecca's combos are going to be like. She's definitely going to be a harder hitter than the rest of the ranged weapon users, considering her giant fucking shotguns. And I'm also actually curious on how they're going to water down Rebecca's speech. Now, like I said in my last video, she's not going to be cursing every 5 seconds. However, she does have a potty mouth. And now having a potty mouth doesn't exactly fit with what we've been presented with in Wuthering Waves. Now, obviously, cursing is not something that I feel like just doesn't exist in the world of Wuthering Waves. Obviously, there are people that I'm sure will curse and has cursed before, but let's be completely honest, we haven't heard any words like or other things like that. Things that Rebecca will 100% say and has said before, most certainly. So I really am wondering if there's going to be a lot of censorship, but comedic censorship, over Rebecca getting frustrated at certain things. But then again, given the world of Wuthering Waves, I don't think that Wuthering Waves can actually throw anything at Rebecca that would make Rebecca feel like she has to curse every 5 seconds anyway. I understand that Wuthering Waves definitely has some pretty edgy things going on with it, but it's mostly a bunch of angst and depressing bullshit. I feel like the story and questline is mostly going to be revolving around them trying to just figure a bunch of stuff out, especially trying to figure out how to get them home. So this is definitely just going to be filled with a bunch of research rather than being filled with a bunch of action. So there's definitely going to be way more discussions than there are going to be actually fighting until the whole Atom Smasher stuff starts happening. So we'll definitely see what's going to happen with that. Now, when it comes to the characters that we're going to be getting, obviously we're going to be getting Lucy and Rebecca is going to be 110% free. She is a character that you are going to be able to claim for free, so you don't have to worry about going out of your way to grind for 2 characters. I understand that a lot of people have blown through their savings for Hiyuki and her weapon. Don't worry, you just need to work on getting Lucy, and obviously, as you know, in games like these, weapons are always optional. They're never mandatory. No matter what anybody says to you, you don't need to get the weapons, and obviously we're still going to be getting a bunch of pulls anyway, so you'll definitely be able to get Lucy and her weapon bare minimum because we're already getting Rebecca for free. Now, I don't actually know if we are going to be getting Rebecca's weapon for free. You guys can let me know. I haven't been doing too much research because I don't want to get too spoiled on stuff. I really just want to experience the entire crossover just completely blind and just be able to just take it all in. Very excited about all of this. You guys let me know what you think could happen, what we could expect, what we will be getting, in your personal opinion. I do want to talk about this in the comment section. But anyways, this is a very exciting time for all of us. I'm very happy, very much so looking forward to everything that's going to be happening. I can't wait to see what characters are going to be interacting with Lucy and Rebecca outside of the characters that we saw in that 1 minute and 23-second video. But anyways, good luck with preparing for the crossover. I love you guys, and I want you all to take care, and peace.